Dr. Shana.
Dr. Shana Lewis.
Dr. Shana D. Lewis.
Dr. Shana Lewis.
Oh, Dr. Shana D. Lewis.
All right. Welcome, everybody to Power Moves, the podcast with Dr. Shana. Today is episode number 4. We made it to episode number 4. I'm so excited, y'all. I can't believe it's already been 4 weeks since my birthday, first of all, because we launched this on my birthday. But I'm so excited to be here yet again for another episode of Power Moves, the podcast with Dr. Shana for experts and practitioners who are ready to leverage their genius and finally get paid what they're worth in life and in business. Okay. I'm Dr. Shana, your host. I am your brand therapist, and I help experts, practitioners, and entrepreneurs just like you who are ready to build a bankable brand beyond traditional practice. Now, this podcast is all about how we can take all of our knowledge, all of our genius that is in our head, and find ways to use it that would allow us to free ourselves, honey, in a lot of different ways. Give us time, freedom, choice, freedom, energy, freedom, and wouldn't y'all like a little financial freedom as well, too? And so we've been talking the last couple of weeks about some different things. And those of you who have been, rocking with me in this live podcast, I tell y'all every episode, y'all, is live. And if anything go wrong, we're going to find out together. So we just going to hand clap, we going to laugh, and we're going to have a good time in the process. Okay. And so last week we talked about one of the 7 rivers of income. That was one of the power moves that we can make as experts and practitioners in order to truly stop serving one-to-one and actually serve one-to-many. It has been one of the things that I have absolutely enjoyed doing the most after firing myself as a practitioner in private practice so many years ago. Being able to work with groups of people instead of just one at a time has allowed me, and can allow you as well too, to create greater impact in your world and in your community. So last week we dealt with books as the way to leverage your genius and do something that looks different. Today we're going to have another conversation around, I'm going to say, one of my 2 favorite ways to do this. Now I'm going to say one of 2 because the other one we won't talk about yet, but this one is speaking. If you are a speaker, just get in the comments and say, I'm speaking. Let me know if you're already a speaker or you're an aspiring speaker. Say not yet if you're an aspiring speaker, because no matter where you enter in this conversation, there's going to be some nuggets dropped for you. I can't wait to get into this conversation and talk about a whole lot of stuff around speaking. We're going to talk about, what are you going to talk about as a speaker? How do you create your talk that you want to have? I call them killer keynotes. How do you market yourself? Where do you find these talks? How do you know how much to charge people? What are the challenges you have? We're going to deal with all of that today, family. Okay. And so on Power Moves, the podcast today, I want to make sure I tell you now, get your pen and get your paper, because they're going to be dropped today. Okay. You're not going to want to miss them. I wrote down my notes to make sure I didn't forget anything as we drop into this conversation. And while we get into it, just let me know where you're watching this from. I love knowing where my family is watching the podcast from. So just get in the comments, say hello, whether you're watching this live or you on a replay. Either way, I'm so glad that you're here, and welcome into the community. So we're talking about speaking. Now, one of the things, I'll just say this, earlier today, I had an opportunity to be a keynote for an event, and speaking is, I just love speaking, y'all. I'm a thespian by training, actually. I don't know if I've ever actually said that, but when I was in high school, I became a thespian. And so I've been an actress for a mighty long time. And so the stage is just like second home to me. I understand it may not be like that for everybody, but I'm going to tell you why speaking is one of the number 1 ways to shift from serving one-to-one to serving one-to-many. Think about it like this. The 30 minutes that I spoke to the group this morning, there was a couple hundred people in that room virtually. If I took that same 30 minutes and I only sat with one person, not saying that that time is not valuable, but in that moment, I can only impact the one person that's in front of me. So think about the work that you do. If you are working with one client at a time, one project at a time, whatever it is, one at a time, your capacity to make an impact is limited to that one person. But when I took that same 30 minutes and I sat before a couple hundred of people, it changed the level of impact. You understand what I mean? And so you're able to create impact and influence at greater levels when you open your mouth and you talk. Now, some of you may be saying, Dr. Shana, I don't know. I'm not a real speaker, but it's okay. We're going to deal with that today. I'm going to help you calm your nerves around the whole idea of becoming an amazing speaker, because every one of you that's an expert, you have an opportunity to show up and be a powerful speaker and help some people along the way. Okay. All right, get your pen, get your paper. So, one of the reasons, if we're talking about the reasons why you really, really, really want to become a speaker, it is the one to many model for sure. But here's the other thing I want you to think about. For those of us who work in a very private way. So, before the pandemic, I worked in a private practice as a licensed professional counselor. It meant there was nobody there but me and my one client per at a time, right? And so the work that I did was extremely private, and no one knew what I was doing unless you were in the room with me. Now, when I became a speaker, what was private is now public, and I'm sharing it with more people, right? It gives me an opportunity to have more visibility and even credibility because I'm showing up before people. People have hired me to come into that space, have these conversations, and it's extremely powerful. So I want you to think about speaking as a way for people to really learn about what it is you're really amazing at. If you're the best kept secret, you gonna just be the best kept secret, my friend. Somebody needs to hear from you. And so speaking is a great way to do it. So one of the things that I get asked often is, okay, well, Dr. Shana, how do you even build a speaker platform? Like, where do you start? And you've heard that before, speaker platforms. Now, everybody may have kind of a, I'll say, a different methodology around that. But I want to just share with you how I help my clients do this all the time and build what I call some killer keynote talks. Okay. And a killer keynote is one that the people are just loving what you said. They are impacted, they're transformed, and they want you to come back again and again. That's what I'm talking about. Okay. And so the platform, in order to create your platform, there's three things, y'all write down three things that you're going to need to have so that your speaker platform is solid. And it's based on your bankable brand. Okay. And we haven't done a whole lot of talk in this podcast around branding just yet, but I want to venture just a wee bit into it right now as I begin talking about you becoming a professional and, yes, of course, a paid speaker. Okay. So there's three things in order to create the foundation of your speaker platform. The first one is you got to have a mission. Your mission really becomes, why are you doing what you're doing? Like, what are you showing up for? Who are you doing it for? You got to understand that. I have a couple of missions in my world, but at the end of it all, it's very clear who it is that I'm here to serve, what it is I'm helping them to do. Okay. And so you got to get clear. Your talks that you have need to be targeted to a specific audience. Here comes a really big issue that many of us have, because I've talked to a whole lot of y'all and a whole lot of other experts in different spaces and places. And we'll say, well, my message can speak to anybody. Okay. And what I'm going to say to you is you could share that message with anybody, but anybody is not going to be deeply impacted by that message. There's going to be a select group of people who that message really is geared to, that they're going to have the big transformation. That's who you need to be talking to. And I'm not saying your message is not universal and it cannot help, everybody, but you need to understand what your mission is. I'm here to help. In this instance, if I'm talking about my mission here with you, my mission is to help experts and practitioners who are sick and tired of trading time for money and working for beans, who want to increase their impact, their influence, and their income by leveraging their genius and finally getting paid what they're worth. So every time, the talk I had earlier today was for that audience. So my outcomes in that conversation were so that they would hear me and they would understand me. Okay. So if you don't get clear about your mission in this space beyond traditional practice, your talks are going to not generate what you're hoping for. And I'm not just talking about money, but they won't have the impact that you want them to have. They won't have, the income is a part of that as well too, because the mission of why you're showing up is not clear. That makes sense? That's number one. Number two is you got to have a message. So I know who I'm helping. I told you earlier, I'm helping you, the experts and practitioners. So my message is really that there's a different way to do this. You are a genius and you get to leverage your genius in such a way. Y'all see how the lights, they said they fixed these. You get to leverage your genius in any way that you desire. But the reality is you got to decide that's what you want to do. So if you don't decide to leverage it, guess what? You keep doing what you've been doing. My message is you can leverage it. You have an opportunity to leverage, and I'm going to show you how. That's the whole point, the entire point of the message that I'm offering to the audience that I'm on a mission to help. You think about what message do you have for your audience? What is it that you want to tell them? What is it that you want them to know? Because if you don't let them know that, how will they know? Right? They're waiting on you. In reality, somebody's waiting on you to show up with your message so they can get their breakthrough. Okay. So make sure you're there to deliver it. The last thing here, part of your platform, is the movement. You want to get folks galvanized around an idea so that they are in a space of wanting to join you on this journey. Okay. Because this is part of this platform that you're creating. You're in my movement right now. This movement is called, two words, Power Moves. Right? It is for us, experts and practitioners who truly want to leverage our genius beyond traditional practice to do some amazing things, which includes building bankable brands. Okay. So when you have those three foundational things in order, you now have a basis. I'm going to call it a foundation for your speaking business that then allows you to truly build it as one of the rivers of your bankable brand. Okay. So mission, message, movement. Hope y'all got that. All right. So now that you have the foundation, I want you to think about, how do you really market yourself or show up as a speaker? Because some of you may be saying, Dr. Shana, I don't really speak. I've not done that. I don't even know where to start. How would I? So this is what I'll say to you. Understand that you can be a speaker in a whole lot of different ways. Okay. You don't have to go speak before hundreds of people. You don't have to be on big stages to consider yourself a speaker. Honestly, social media is a platform where you can speak and be seen as a speaker. The other thing I would say to you is that you can speak in small rooms where there's 10 people, 15 people, 50 people, into humongous rooms, thousands of people. You get to decide. But if you never open your mouth, and I said MOFF, I said that earlier today in my talk. If you don't open your mouth, no one will know that you are a speaker and that you're here and you have something to offer that would be of great assistance to them. Okay. So be clear that you want to decide, I'm going to be a speaker, and find places to talk. Okay. Social media is a great one. If you just went live, I'm going to just challenge somebody right now. If you just decided to go live and have a conversation with people on social media about your area of expertise, you're speaking. Hello. I didn't say you had to go get a huge microphone and get on the stage. No, open your mouth and tell people who you are. Introduce yourself. Hi, my name is so-and-so, and I am here to help people do X, Y, and Z. And here are the top 3 things that I see people struggling with in this area. And I'm going to share with you some of the answers, the solutions, suggestions, or recommendations that can help you if you're dealing with that. You see how easy that was? You're a speaker. Okay. Now that's just opening your mouth and talking to people. When you decide you want to go out into other places and be on other people's stages, you have to first let people know that you are speaking. So you need to add speaker to your profile, to your image. If you get on a stage, never be there without taking a picture of yourself on the stage with a microphone. Have somebody record it for you. You need all of these things. We'll talk about what you do with these later, but you have to present yourself as a speaker. Okay. You got to tell people, hey, my name is so-and-so. And have you ever had a need for someone to come in and talk about X, Y, and Z about a thing? You know, a lot of people who could probably bring you into their organizations, bring you into the work that they're already doing, and you could speak for them. So make it clear that you don't have to start in some, massive place. You can start in any place that allows you to open your mouth and give you a microphone. What you got to know is the one with the microphone, somebody fill in the blank for me, wins. Why do they win, Dr. Shana? Because everybody's listening to them. Why do you think I have a microphone right here in front of me? As a podcaster, we got a microphone. Now, it's for sound, but understand the microphone represents something. This is the thing that allows me to communicate my expertise to you. And it means you're watching and listening to me as I'm doing this. Okay. So the same thing is true in any other stage. I'm the expert in the room because I got the mic. Now, y'all know it's a whole lot of folks on social media acting like they experts and they talking about a bunch of nothing all over the social media and they got a big microphone. Hello. And you're sitting on some amazing expertise and you're not saying anything. Nobody knows. They're waiting on you to show up. Okay. So here's the other thing. I was saying earlier that if you have an opportunity to find yourself in a space where you get an opportunity to speak for somebody, you want to have pictures, you want to get video. Now, some may be saying, well, Dr. Shana, I don't have, a fancy video or listen, I'm going to tell you what, this little thing right here, the cell phone, get you a stand it up wherever you are, hit record and let it record you. Ask somebody in the audience, can they record you? Okay. Get a recording. It doesn't have to be, our cell phones actually do so much better or equally as good as many other fancy or more expensive camera devices. Okay. So start there. Pictures with the phone, video with the phone. You need these. These are called speaker assets. Okay. I'm going to tell you about these assets because if you're going to market yourself as a speaker, you're going to have assets, especially if you're going to want to ask folks to pay you. Now, if you just want to speak for free, and we're going to deal with free speaking in just a minute, then, maybe you don't need as much of this. But if you want to be taken as a serious speaker, you want to add this as an arm of your business, you want to generate some actual income as a result of this, then you're going to need what I'm talking about right now. Speaker assets. Okay. Number one is photos. Number one is videos, because if the next person going to hire you, they're going to want to hear and see what you sound like as a speaker. Now, as you're first getting started, we're going to call it B-roll because they may not hear you at all. They just may see you with a microphone on a picture. Okay. We call those mic shots where you just got a mic in your hand. Hello. And here's the thing you got to know too. Here's a secret. Y'all come closer. We family, right? So I'm going to tell y'all a secret. Sometimes not even sometimes, you have this opportunity anytime you want to, if you choose to, you can actually, what's the word? I'm losing my word. You can stage a speaking engagement to get some of these assets I'm talking about. You are pretty solid in your thought process about being a speaker. You know what you're talking about. You just haven't had an opportunity to gather that, or you've spoken and you didn't get it because you didn't know. You hadn't watched Power Moves the podcast yet, right? No one taught you that. So you don't know that. So in the meantime, while you're waiting on another paid gig or another opportunity to speak and get it in real time, you can stage it. You can get a microphone, get a camera, get on a stage, you pick a place. Sometimes we've rented places to make this happen and get a photographer, videographer, and make the whole thing beautiful. Because what you can do with that is you can take that footage, whether it is a photo or it's a video, and you can turn it into a speaker reel. Now, what's a speaker reel? A speaker reel is where you're sharing and showing how you show up in the space on stage, so that when people want to book you, you send them this reel and they're like, oh my gosh, she's amazing. I love her presence. I love her energy. I love her confidence. I love, his talk or whatever he's talking about. But you got to show them something. Okay. So those are speaker assets. Now, the other assets that you're going to use these videos and pictures from, I said reels. The other two things are the website and a speaker one sheet. Now, your speaker one sheet can literally be that, a one sheeter. It don't have to be uber fancy. It can be extremely simple. One sheet. Okay. Now, if you have a speaker one sheet, when you're asking other people or telling people about you as a speaker and they're saying, okay, well, tell me what you do, send them the one sheet. Y'all, it's very simple, but you got to have one. Now, you may be thinking, well, Dr. Shana, where do I get a one sheet from? Y'all, Canva.com has so many resources that you could literally create All of what I'm talking about, the website, the one sheet, the real everything right there on Canva if you wanted to. Okay. It's a great place to go. At least get one that's to get started. Okay. All right. So those are your assets. Okay. And if you have questions, folks, you can drop them in the comments. I won't see them while the show is going live, but I absolutely can come back later and answer your questions. So if there's any questions that come up as I'm talking, go ahead and share those in the comments. All right, so let's go on to the next one. This is the one that really get folks tripped up. How do I know how much to charge as a speaker? Have you ever asked that question? Like, okay, I want to speak, but how much would I tell the people? They ask me how much is my fee. All right, y'all. There's one thing I want you to write down. So if you don't listen to nothing else I say and you don't write down another thing I say, please write this down. What is your budget? Repeat after me. What is your budget? So when people ask you for your fee, your answer is not to give them a number. Your answer is the question. Tell me, what is your budget? Why would I say that? This is why. Because, and I've seen it happen too many times. When people ask you your fee and you just give them a number, because you do need to decide what your fee is, and I'll get to that in a second. You need to give them, they want you to give them a number. But let's say your number, because you don't know your whole worth, is $1,000. Okay, let's say that you just getting started. You're like, I really don't know a whole lot. $1,000. Okay, but if you had asked the question first and said, "What's your budget?" and they said $3,000, guess who just left $2,000 on the table? So we don't do that. We ask the question, "What is your budget?" Now, and they can tell you, my budget is this. So if they say my budget is 3,000 and your rate might be 5,000, you can say, okay, well, my normal rate is actually about 5K for a talk like this. I understand your budget is 3,000, but you may have some negotiation room there. Okay. Or you may say, I'll take it at 3 and we can move from there. There's some other things that if it's not my rate, I would negotiate as a part of that deal to make up that difference in compensation, but you definitely could take one at a lower rate. Now, this is what I want you to consider when you're even beginning the thought process of how much do I tell people or how much do I charge? A lot of us, especially practitioners, because we work by the hour, we have an hourly rate. So if you're watching this, you're a practitioner, can you just drop in the chat or the comments, what's your hourly rate? Somebody comes to see you, you perform a service, it's by the hour. How much is that? Okay. Back in the day when I was seeing clients one-to-one, my hourly rate was from $175 to $250. Okay. For an hour. So some may say, oh, well, my speaker rate, because it's only like a 45-minute talk, it's got to be about $250. No, ma'am, and no, sir. So let me explain. Let me explain to you why that is not the math that we use when we talk about showing up as speakers. Because yes, it may be a 30-minute talk, a 45-minute talk, and your hourly rate is that, but they're not paying you for your time. I need you to listen to me really closely here. They are not paying you for your time. As the expert, as the practitioner with the mic, they are paying you to transform their audience. And it just so happens because of your 10 years, your 20 years, your 30 years, whatever it might be of experience, education, certification, it only takes you 30 minutes to transform them. That's what they're paying you for. Okay. So I need you to flip in your mind how you believing and thinking about how we charge for to become speakers. I'm not charging you for 45 minutes. I'm charging you for all the years that came before that 45 minutes. And it literally only takes me that much time to give your audience the transformation that you've asked me to show up and do. Okay. And so as we're thinking about this for you, I know there's a place you want to start. I tell most speakers, whatever number you come up with, I want you really to come up with 3. I want you to come up with the lowest number that you would feel comfortable and not feel like you were about to choke to tell somebody. Because I'll be honest, my first paid gig was probably $250. Because before I didn't know my value. I didn't really know about the speaking business being a professional place to really get paid my worth. So $250 is where I started. And that might be where you start, depending on your expertise. But I'm really going to tell most of y'all it should be less than $500 or $1,000. If you're an expert, you've been in this space for a while, you can have a rate that sounds like $1,000 and it be reasonable. Okay. And that's the starting place. Honestly, I want it to be a number that you don't choke on when you say it, because if you don't believe it, it's not going to come across well to other people. Okay. So we're going to have a number that's our bottom number. Like, I don't want to speak for less than fill in the blank, $500. I can get with that. Then I want you to think about that dream number that, and if I could really get paid right now, what I really want to get paid, what would it be? Maybe that's $3,000. Okay. So we got 500 at the bottom, 3,000 at the top. Then I want you to pick a number in the middle that doesn't make you choke completely, that you can say with a straight face, and let that be the number that you give people when you ask them their budget, no matter what they say. Okay, here's my number. Maybe that number is 1,500. I'm going to just call it 1,500. But maybe their budget is 1,000. So now you got some wiggle room to talk about negotiating. What else can we do in that $500 gap? Does that make sense? I hope that helps somebody. I hope I freed somebody right now. But here's the other thing. Because I started at 250 doesn't mean I couldn't give myself a raise whenever I got ready. When my confidence grew, when my belief grew, when my experience grew in this space, so did my speaker fee. Okay. And yours can do the very same thing. Right. And so you have an opportunity to continue to give yourself a raise here, but you got to start somewhere. Okay. So hopefully I help somebody figure out about charging for your speaking engagements. Now, here's the other thing. I said earlier, you might speak for free somewhere because let's say I don't have no budget. People will say that I don't have a budget. Okay, I got it. If it's a cause that you enjoy or something like that, you may just want to do it anyway. And you know what? You can. Folks can ask you to do a million things and you can say yes all day long. If it makes sense for you, you have to decide. But I want you to write this down. FREE, write it kind of what they say as an acrostic down the side of the page, because I never, ever, ever speak for free. And let me explain, and you should not either. Let me explain what I mean by this, okay? The F, I can speak for my fee, okay? So with our previous example, if 1,500 was my rate, they only got 1,000, they do 1,000 and they take care of my flight and my travel and everything else outside of that, then maybe we can have a deal potentially, right? So, but they pay me my fee. So that's the F. The R, I will speak for referrals or recommendations. So what do I mean by that? So if someone says, I can't meet your budget, I can't meet your fee because of my budget, then I'm going to ask them for 2 or 3 referrals to other people who do the same thing that they do. Imagine people that do the same things, they all know each other, right? So if you're hiring speakers, I'm going to believe that you know other people that are also hiring speakers. So I'm going to ask for 2 referrals. And so that means when I get done with this engagement, I'm looking for an email that's going to have some names, emails, numbers, and an e-introduction to some other people that may need me as a speaker. Okay, so I can go talk to them. So the other one is E, extra assets. So if I was talking earlier and I said pictures, video, those are assets. Sometimes you will speak just to get assets because you need them. So they didn't pay your fee. Maybe they didn't have referrals at all, but I can get pictures, photos, videos of me here. I'm doing it hands down if I need that. Okay. For those of you who may be more experienced, you may not be speaking for assets anymore because you got all of that. But if you're just starting out, it is A-okay. I want y'all to know that, right? And then the last E is for extra cash. So what do you mean by extra cash? I'm saying if I'm speaking, can I get a vending table? I am always going to get asked for a vending table. It doesn't matter what the scenario is. Why? Because after the talk, everybody's going to come talk to you. They want to buy something from you. They want to support you. They're going to want another piece of you. So you need to have, what we talked about last week, a book or some kind of product. A book is a great one, but you could have other things as well too, where they can consume more of you. So now you may have said $1,500 was my speaker rate. They only had 1,000, but you asked for a vending table and you made 500 over there. So you still got your 1,500 before you left the building. You understand what I mean? Did I just help somebody? I want you to understand how you can make all of this add up and make sense. Okay. But I never, ever, ever speak for free. Can y'all write that for me? I will never speak for free. Never for free. You can speak for these things, but never for free. Okay. So now the next piece here that I want you to understand is, where do you actually find these talks? Now that is always a real struggle, because sometimes people are like, I have no clue, where do I find these talks, Dr. Shana? You can find these talks in lots of different places. It just depends on where you are in your journey. But I'm gonna tell you, they're gonna come one or two ways. Either you're gonna tell them about you, or they're gonna come looking for you, right? So both of those will happen. If you show up on social media, if you let people know what you're doing, you did the stuff I talked about earlier, people will be looking for you a whole lot more. You also can pitch yourself to other people as well too. It's one of the skills that I teach inside of my Speak Up and Get Paid mastermind, where I teach clients, how do you pitch? Where do you pitch? What do you say? These are the things that are there's a framework for it. But when you figure out how to do that, then you can get some folks to say yes, who you never knew, but they're going to bring you in and pay you to speak because you pitched yourself. Okay. You can also find engagement because somebody referred you based on that free model, or even folks in the audience can refer you as well too. Okay. So those are ways you find them. Now, the final thing I want to talk about, because I want to definitely wrap this up. I tell y'all these talks, this show was only about 30 minutes or so, and I'm at that mark right now. But what are the challenges? What are the things that get in the way? What are the fears that we have? I'm going to just speak to a little of these for just a moment. We got to be prepared, first of all. Do not be disrespectful of this industry. Don't think this is we call it a side hustle. No, speaking is a professional business. If you want to get paid as a professional and an expert, you want to show up that way. So take it seriously and prepare yourself when you show up in these places. It is nothing worse than being a speaker, asked to speak somewhere, and you are not prepared for the talk. It is evident and it is clear. And you don't want that as your reputation. You want to have a reputation that when you speak, people are like, oh my goodness, I want to hear that person speak again and again and again. You also want to be engaging when you speak to folks. You don't want to be a speaker that's, I don't want to say the word boring, but y'all have heard some boring speakers. Don't be them. Don't be the boring speaker. Be yourself, though. At the end of the day, be you, but be energetic, be lively, be entertaining, because it's really like education. Edutainment. I'm sorry. Is it edutainment? It's education and entertainment connected. I may be saying that word wrong, but it's those things. People want to get educated, but they also want to be entertained. So you want to be able to do both. If you don't know how to do that, holler at your girl. I am here. That's something I am amazing at, is teaching and training experts how to show up in power on the stage and kill it every single time. Okay. So we talked about a whole lot of stuff. I'm hopeful y'all took some good notes. I'm going to run through this real quickly as a recap to make sure you didn't miss anything. We talked about building your speaker platform. We talked about marketing yourself as an actual speaker. We talked about how do you charge for these talks. We talked about where do you find these talks, and we talked about the challenges and the barriers that may make it difficult or get in your way. All of these things are some key ingredients to you, my expert practitioner and entrepreneur friend, leveraging your genius and finally getting paid what you're worth in life and business. Understand that if you want to add speaking as a valuable river of income in your business, you can. Take it seriously. And it can happen. It will pay you over and over again. And I want to give you the Power Moves affirmation of the day, because every week we got a Power Moves affirmation. Today's affirmation is, my voice is powerful and it deserves to be heard. My voice is powerful and it deserves to be heard. Somebody is waiting on you to show up. They're waiting for you to don that stage. They're waiting for you to speak in some way that makes sense for you. Please don't make them keep waiting for their breakthrough. They're waiting for you. You can, my friend, you must, and you will understand that the next power move is yours to make. If you don't make it, trust and believe somebody else will. And please share this podcast, like this show, subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to get these subs up to 500. Subscribe to this channel and share it with other experts, practitioners who may find this information valuable. Click below and get your free gift from me. 10x your income. It's a blueprint for all of you. And I want to invite each of you to a very special event that I'm hosting very soon, which is my 5-day brand mastery challenge. It'll be linked in the comments or down below as well too. Thank you so much for joining me for episode number 4 of Power Move with Dr. Shana. And I cannot wait to see you all next week for episode number 5. We're going to go back to the life side and start talking about some of those other things that we can do to take some other good cares of ourselves on this journey to making these power moves in our business. Okay. Have an amazing rest of your day. And guess what? I'll see y'all next time. Bye-bye, folks.